Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm David Kerr from Lansing in Michigan, and these are your latest news headlines from around the world. Pope Francis is calling for all people to pray for peace in the Holy Land. The Holy Father made his plea during his Sunday Angelus address in response to bloody events over the weekend, which saw Hamas militants fire thousands of rockets from the Gaza Strip into Israel before launching a surprise attack into the south of the country. In response, the Israeli government have declared war on Hamas. The overall death toll so far is now estimated to stand at over 1,100 people.
On Saturday, Palestinian Hamas terrorists launched an unexpected attack on Israel, firing hundreds of rockets and sparking new unrest in the Holy Land. Israel responded with swift airstrikes, and the country's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that a war had broken out. At least 600 Israelis were killed and 985 wounded in southern Israel after rocket barrages launched from the Gaza Strip struck the area on Saturday. Speaking after the Angelus prayer on Sunday, Pope Francis called for attacks to cease as he prayed for peace in Israel and Palestine. The Holy Father insisted that war is always a defeat. Every war is a defeat. Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, the head of the Catholic Church in Jerusalem, said the deaths and tragedies, which both Palestinian and Israeli families have to deal with, will create more hatred and division, and will destroy any perspective of stability. Bishop David Malloy of Rockford, chairman of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops' Committee on International Justice and Peace, also called for prayers for peace in the Holy Land. Meanwhile, world leaders have expressed their support for Israel and stressed the need for the nation to have the ability to defend itself. U.S. President Joe Biden called the attack appalling and unconscionable, saying there is never any justification for terrorism. French President Emmanuel Macron also expressed full solidarity with the victims. The world leaders have expressed solidarity with the innocent victims and their families and said they stand in solidarity with Israel at this difficult hour. International Desk, SW News.
Over 2,400 people have been killed in earthquakes in Afghanistan. A quake registering 6.3 on the Richter scale devastated the densely populated region around the northwestern city of Herat on Saturday. According to the country's Ministry of Disasters, over 2,000 people have been injured and many more still trapped, with over 1,300 houses demolished and numerous towns entirely devastated. The US Geological Survey stated that numerous aftershocks followed the initial quake. The United Nations Human Rights Council have urged Indian authorities to protect the family of Manipur-based human rights activist Babloo Loitongbam, whose home has come under attack in recent days. Since May, the northeastern state has been convulsed by violence between the majority Meitei community, who are mainly Hindu and make up more than half of the state's population, and the minority Kuki population, who are mainly Christian. As part of the violence, Mr. Loitongbam has been besieged by two radical Meitei organisations. On Thursday, his home in Imphal West was attacked by between 20 to 30 people. His family, including elderly parents, wife and a teenage daughter, were at home at the time. The Catholic bishops of Europe are calling for action to address the growing humanitarian crisis in Armenia. The plea from the Council of Bishops' Conferences of Europe comes after more than 100,000 ethnic Armenians fled the disputed enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh after it was seized by Azerbaijani forces last month. The region is recognised internationally as part of Azerbaijan, but has been controlled by ethnic Armenians for 3 decades. The European bishops have described the situation as a humanitarian emergency. Meanwhile, Global Anglicanism's most senior cleric Justin Welby has been visiting the afflicted region as part of a 5-day pilgrimage of listening. The Reverend Welby has travelled from England to visit Azerbaijan and Georgia, where he met with civil and religious leaders before travelling on to Armenia. Upon arrival in Armenia, he told the people there, quote, "I'm here to let you know that you are not forgotten." St. Charles Borromeo Seminary in Pennsylvania has just received its largest ever financial gift, totaling $1.2 million. The donation has been made by the Indiana-based Lilly Endowment, which is one of the world's largest private philanthropic foundations. The grant is being given as part of their compelling preaching initiative. St. Charles Seminary is under the jurisdiction of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. It's currently based in Wynwood in the suburbs of Philadelphia, but plans to move next year to a new site in Upper Gwynedd, which is approximately 28 miles north of Philly. Police in Nicaragua have arrested another Catholic priest after he spoke up against the country's authoritarian regime. According to local media, Father Alvaro Toledo of the Our Lady of the Assumption parish in the northwestern city of Ocotl was taken against his will from his home on Thursday night. His arrest came just hours after Father Toledo had criticised the detention of other priests during a sermon. There is no official information at present about his whereabouts. Father Toledo's detention brings the total number of Catholic priests arrested in Nicaragua under the regime of President Daniel Ortega to 12. The bishops of Ireland are encouraging the country's politicians to oppose assisted suicide. In a statement issued to all lawmakers, the Irish bishops stressed the responsibility upon those in politics to protect the common good. They also stressed the significance of maintaining the integrity of healthcare as a vital service that sustains life from conception to natural death. Next June's Day for Life in Ireland will now be dedicated to the topic of care at the end of life. A homeschooling family who fled Germany to live in the United States has won a one-year reprieve from deportation. In 2008, the Romeke family moved from Germany to Tennessee to seek asylum, claiming that their homeland was persecuting them by not allowing them to homeschool their children. Homeschooling is illegal in all but a few cases in Germany, and the Romeke family had been fined approximately $9,000. In 2014, the family were granted indefinite deferred action status, which allowed them to live, work, and remain safely in the United States without fear of deportation. Last month, though, that status was revoked, meaning the family now faces deportation back to Germany. After a public and legal campaign, however, that threat has now been lifted for at least 12 months. A teacher in the United Kingdom who was sacked from a Church of England school for opposing lessons which she felt were contrary to Christian teaching is now facing being struck off by her profession. 43-year-old Gladys Ledger taught modern languages at Bishop Justice Church of England School in Bromley, Kent until May 2022. Miss Ledger says she took particular issue with lessons introducing children to the concept of gender and sexual identities, as well as the promotion of critical race theory and abortion. She was later reported to the Teaching Regulation Agency following reports that she had upset a student with her views. The teacher of 12 years could now face being banned from the profession indefinitely after a fitness to practice hearing, which begins this week. Police in Massachusetts say they've identified two 12-year-olds who they suspect set fire to a Catholic church in the town of East Bridgewater on Friday. The two suspects set fire to an altar cloth and a Bible at St. John the Evangelist parish in the town. The names of the two children will not be released, say police, and no charges are expected to be filed at this time. Finally, in 1999, Nick Silverio's wife Gloria was killed in a car crash. In his grief, he came across a magazine article about mothers who abandon their newborn babies in unsafe places around the world, often not surviving. In response, Nick established a safe haven for newborns. 24 years later, and the Florida-based organisation has announced that it has saved over 300 young lives. It's also expanded its work to 67 countries. Well, that's your latest news headlines for now. Do join us for more tomorrow. You can also join us at swnews.org for news updates. Shalom.